Hello, and welcome to Spokane County Spotlight. I'm County Commissioner Mary Kuney, and my guest today is Wes Jessup, Executive Director of the Northwest Museum of Arts and Culture here in Spokane. Wes, thank you for joining us today on the Spotlight. Today we're going to discuss the upcoming exhibits at the MAC, including an exciting one, DreamWorks Animation, the exhibition Journey from Sketch to Screen. I'm eager to hear about it, but first I'd like to take this opportunity to learn more about your personal story. I know that you've been in Spokane now for 5 years, so you're not exactly new to Spokane in your role as Executive Director of the MAC. But for the benefit of our audience, would you please let us know a little bit about your background?
Sure. It's great to be here. Thanks, Mary, for that introduction. And I came here 5 years ago to head the MAC, and I arrived from Colorado, where I was the director of the Longmont Museum. And my family, we moved here because my wife and I are originally from the Pacific Northwest, from Alaska. That's where we both grew up. So we kind of wanted to get back to the Pacific Northwest, and we love Spokane. We have some family here, and so it was a great opportunity to come to Spokane and to lead a really great cultural organization that's been around for 100 years. So it's been great.
And so, you know, your wife and you have children as well.
Yes, and my wife is a librarian at Sunset Elementary, and we have 4 children, ages 23, 21, 19, and 16. So we have 2 kids in college. We have a son that's graduated and plays professional basketball in Australia.
Wow.
And our youngest son is a sophomore at Lewis and Clark High School. He's a sophomore there.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I think it's fun to hear a little bit about our families and what they're doing and you know, and the connection then to the community. So thank you.
For sure.
So what did inspire you to decide to accept the executive director position at the MAC back in 2017?
Well, a lot of it was just coming back to the Pacific Northwest. And we just like Spokane. It's a beautiful city. It's really connected to the outdoors in a way that a lot of other places are not. And everything's really accessible. It's easy to go hiking or skiing or to the lake. It's just a really great kind of location. And I love the history of Spokane. I love the historic architecture. That's always something that I think about. And working at a museum, the MAC collection is pretty extraordinary. The Tribal Plateau collection there is a great collection, and it's one that I wanted to steward as a director. And so that opportunity was unique, and so that was really those were some of the reasons that we came here.
And the MAC's kind of unique in how it is, and so was that part of what inspired you to come here?
Yeah, it is a unique museum because it's they cover, obviously we have this fabulous Plateau tribal collection, but there's also an archive, and there's an art collection, and there's a regional history collection. So they cover a lot of areas, and that's interesting to me. I think art and I think history and all of these things kind of go together in a way, and most museums kind of separate those disciplines, and there's a museum for that and a museum for this, and I love the way the MAC weaves them together.
And the Campbell House is also part of the MAC.
Yes, the Campbell House is a big feature at the MAC. We call it our largest artifact because it is, and it's a massive mansion. If you haven't been there, it's just a wonderful kind of historical house. It is, the main historic house in Washington State, so it's been preserved, it's been conserved, and it's pretty much back to the way it was in around 1910. Which is kind of exciting to be able to visit a house and experience the way it was, over 100 years ago.
Yeah, no, it's a place that I've gone to several times with my family, my grandmother as well as my daughter, and it's a fun place. So so it's very
really
exciting.
Cool. Yeah, the house is great.
So with that though, what have you been able to do at the MAC in the past 5 years that has made you very proud?
Yeah, so it's been a really exciting 5 years. I mean, we've done some amazing exhibitions in the last 5 years. We've really hit some high points. I mean, just for example, in 2019, we had more visitors at the MAC during that year than we'd ever had in any year prior to that. And that was owing to some really great exhibitions. We had a wonderful Dale Chihuly glass exhibition. We actually did a Norman Rockwell exhibition, which was very popular in the community. And with these larger shows, we bring out our collection and do some smaller, more focused look at history and at different historical moments in the region's history, and look at different kinds of art, contemporary art, in our other galleries. So we're able to offer visitors a kind of a variety of experiences. But certainly hitting that mark in 2019 was a big success for the organization. We have more members now than we've ever had, which is really exciting. I think we have 3,500 or 3,600 members, which is great. And some of those measures, I think, speak to the way that the community is responding to what we're doing. And there's been a lot of real positive responses and a lot of enthusiasm about what we're doing. So I'm happy when the community is really coming to the museum and our galleries are full of people, and that's exciting.
Well, in some of those, exhibits over the last 5 years, I mean, you've had like the woolly mammoth exhibit.
Yes, we've had some larger traveling, exactly. We've had some larger traveling exhibitions. In fact, one of my favorite ones was, 2020 was the 40th anniversary of Mount St. Helens erupting. And so we did a small show about that, but we also brought a Pompeii exhibition to Spokane, which was extraordinary. It was artifacts from Pompeii. And that was really exciting to think about those two volcanoes and to think about Pompeii and to really bring something to Spokane that is hard to see otherwise. I mean, you have to go to Pompeii to see those things. So we had such a positive response from the community, mitigated somewhat by COVID because that's when COVID happened. But we were able to reopen and we just had wonderful community support. So to see the community step up and support the MAC like they have in the last 5 years is really, I think, one of the great achievements of the last 5 years.
Well, and I think it's so exciting for us as a community to support the MAC, because the MAC really is bringing these traveling shows here that, you'd have to go to Seattle or other locations, even Chicago, normally, that you wouldn't have here. And so we get to bring that to our citizens. And so I have to say thank you for that ability, because otherwise, a lot of our, especially our elementary kids that come down and, get grants to come down to see these exhibits have that opportunity that they wouldn't have otherwise.
Exactly. And in the last few years, we've really focused a lot of attention on making sure that Title I schools have access to these exhibitions. It's a priority for the organization. And we've gone out and secured grants to fund those field trips and to make sure that our Title I kids can get to these shows, because like you said, it's not everybody can just hop on a plane and go to Chicago or to Seattle. I mean, that's not available to everybody. And so it's great. I think it's great that we've been able to sort of bring the world to Spokane in some ways. And that there's just been a really positive response to that. So that's been great.
No, which is very exciting. So we talked a little bit, but now we're going to fast forward to March of 2020 and talk a bit about the challenges the museum faced since the COVID-19 pandemic hit.
Yes, that was a tough, that was tough. And we survived. I mean, we had to do some layoffs, which was really hard, but it was a challenge for us because we have to have our doors open to survive. We're a business, we're a nonprofit, but any nonprofit will tell you that it's a business. And so we were really hit hard by that. Fortunately, the state supported us. We were able to get some support from the county. Thanks to the county for that. Thank you. And from some other sources that were kind of able to help us get through that time. And but it's just been a real challenge. I mean, we lost all of our field trips. Starting in the fall of 2020, we just haven't really had. They're starting to come back now. And we've followed all the protocols, and we've been able to reopen. I think we've reopened and closed like 2 or 3 times. So we actually just had to close for Omicron because we didn't have staff. Everybody got sick. So so it's been a little bit of a roller coaster, but I feel like things are getting a little more back to normal now. It feels like in February things are changing, and the last 2 weeks at the MAC have been, when we reopened 2 weeks ago, they've been packed every day. We have an exhibition leaving. The Tiffany exhibition's leaving on Sunday. So we've been really fortunate to have the community step up and support us even during COVID.
No, which has been tough because it has been that roller coaster for your business, other businesses
Oh, yeah.
in our community. And so we were happy to help because, the MAC is so important to our community and again, to provide that arts and culture to our citizens. So thank you for all you did because it was, I know, very stressful for the executive directors of these organizations and yours, trying to figure out what was the right thing to do, to keep it open, keep it accessible, and still have the public coming.
Right. So there's all these different decisions you have to make on kind of like on a daily basis, and you have to think about keeping your visitors safe, your staff safe, working from home, working in the office, all of the stuff that everybody's had to deal with. We weren't unique in that way, but as a public-facing organization, you really have to think about that you have to think about those different aspects.
Yes. Well, now as we start to look past the pandemic, which we're very excited about, what are some of your priorities and plans for the MAC as we're starting to move forward?
Yeah, so we are really looking again to the future of the MAC and some of our programs and exhibitions that are coming up. Some really cool initiatives that are in the works right now, and one of the most exciting ones that I'm super excited to share is about a canoe exhibition that we have. I don't know if you know about this.
No,
but
I don't.
Yeah, so we worked with Upper Columbia United Tribes, UCUT, which is a tribal organization comprised of represented by different tribes around the traditional canoe journeys on the Columbia River. And so we brought a couple of canoes that had been carved within the last 10 or 15 years and then into the galleries. And these are 30-foot long canoes. I mean, they're amazing. And then starting in April, we're actually going to have a carving on our campus of a cedar, 35-foot cedar, and they're going to carve some of the members of the tribes are going to carve a canoe right there outdoors for people to see. So we're bringing this whole incredible history and cultural experience to everyone, and I think it'll be really educational, but also just really fun to see and experience. And that's just a great initiative we have going with UCUT right now.
Oh, I think that's going to be very exciting for people to see.
Yeah, I think it's going to be great.
Yeah.
We have a lot of really great programs like that. I just like that one because it's hard to ever get an artist to come to the museum and actually do their work for people to see. But these carvers are being just so gracious to be able to come and teach our public and our audience about this whole process, which is a really extraordinary. I mean, it's a cedar that's 35 feet long.
Yes.
So it's a pretty cool thing. We're very excited about that.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah.
No, that's nice to hear and to know that that's what's coming.
Yeah.
Another thing I'm very excited about is the exhibit that focuses on DreamWorks Animation. Spokane County is proud to be a sponsor of this exhibition. Can you give our audience an overview of what to expect from this fun exhibit that's coming?
Absolutely. So we're really thrilled about the DreamWorks exhibition, and I want to thank the county and thank you for supporting it because it was a little bit of a tall order. This is an internationally traveling show, and because of the exhibition calendars at different museums and because of COVID, we were able to snag this show, and it would have been a challenge to get the show here otherwise, but I'm so excited to say that we will be the first United States venue for this exhibition, and it's called DreamWorks Animation Sketch to Screen. So it tracks the creative process from the sketch of the Kung Fu Panda on the napkin that somebody does in a bar, all the way through to developing this film into an incredible world and in an extraordinary visual experience. So it just kind of follows that creative process through the development of characters and stories, narratives, to creating a whole world. I mean, if you think about a movie like Shrek, and I mean, DreamWorks is responsible for some of the most famous animation in the last 25 years. And so, but if you think about Shrek, you think about that whole world that they created. I mean, it was so extraordinary. And so it's called Sketch to Screen because it tracks that process and it really looks at animation as an art, which it is. Sometimes we think, well, those are commercial artists, but they're extraordinary artists and they do amazing things. So The exhibition is very interactive, so it's great for families, great for kids, and opportunities even at the end of the exhibition to kind of create your own animation. So there's some really nice hands-on experiences that visitors will get in this exhibition that I think will really take them behind the scenes, open their eyes, and give them some more food for thought the next time they're watching an animated film.
Well, and I think it's going to be fun to see, the future animators that come out of this. I mean, it's really going to inspire, I think, a lot of children as again, they're coming in from schools as those field trips start to happen.
Yes.
For that, I could do this. This
I
is
can do
something,
this, yeah.
that I can do.
Yeah.
It's like I love to scribble on my, do doodles on my paperwork at school, and that
Right.
doodling can lead to these opportunities in their life, so they can follow their passion. So
Definitely.
I think it's going to be fun for to see what comes out of it from that perspective as well. That it's a great family entertainment, but yet just the inspiration that it's going to bring to the people in our community.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think we're doing our best when we can inspire kids and inspire families and get them thinking, and so I think there's just going to be great opportunities. We're already talking to some of the animation programs at the universities, and definitely working with the art schools. So there's a lot of collaboration that we're putting together, and we're also, like I said earlier, we're making this exhibition free to Title I schools, including busing. So the MAC has gone out, our board of directors, our development staff has gone out, and they've raised money and funds to support busing kids in from all over Eastern Washington. And we have the support of ESD 101, and also the Hagen Foundation has supported us. So we have some really great supporters. I mentioned earlier this idea of community support for the MAC, how critical it is, and this is kind of how this plays out, is that we're able to take this experience and give it for free to, Title I kids who wouldn't be able to come otherwise.
No, which is so exciting. So very excited for that.
Great.
So with that, can you give us an idea of the logistics of getting a show like this here to Spokane?
This was complicated. Yeah, this was
was
complicated, and especially during COVID. So this exhibition is coming to us from Australia, which is where it was in storage, and it's actually, you're going to laugh when you hear this, Mary, but it's on the slow boat right now, okay?
Yes.
It's crossing the Pacific. It's landing, I think, within the next week in Vancouver, British Columbia. So that's how that is getting over here. Normally, that would have to be air freighted, but because of COVID and some of the things, we were able to ship it over, which made it a lot more accessible for us to be able to support. So, so it's on a boat, and we're, hopefully the port problems don't become too much of a challenge. But we're just excited to be able to be the first United States venue for Spokane, to be the first United States venue. And it's been to Asia, it's been to Europe, Middle East, South America. I mean, it's Rio de Janeiro, Beijing, major cities.
Right.
So this is really exciting that Spokane is going to have this exhibition here. And logistics have been challenging because we're working with the team. It was organized by a museum in Australia that worked with Jeffrey Katzenberg from DreamWorks. And so it's a really interesting situation because we're working against different time zones and trying to sort of put all the pieces together with a team that is, like in the Southern Hemisphere on the other side of the world. So it's a challenge.
No, so with that then, what other exhibits are we looking at the MAC? And can you give us some insights into that?
Absolutely. Well, so the Canoe Exhibition will be up even during DreamWorks. So it's a smaller exhibition. We actually have another exhibition, which is wonderful, which you're going to think this is a crazy idea, but the museum has a really large collection of flour sacks from Eastern Washington from the early 20th century, like from the early 1900s.
Wow.
And these flour sacks, somebody collected them and gave them to the museum, and they just, they sort of been sitting there for years. And our collections curator, Val Wall, said, you know what, this would make an interesting show. Look at these bags. And they're in different languages. They're in Spanish and Portuguese and Chinese, because in the early 1900s, as today, the Eastern Washington is exporting massive amounts of wheat and flour. So there's these really colorful, interesting flour sacks. And so we thought, what a cool way to look at the history of the Palouse and the history of Eastern Washington by bringing these stacks out and by also looking at some of the art of the Palouse, you know, of this region. And so it's a really cool regional history show. And when I tell people we have a flour sack exhibition, I'm always like trying to, you know, make it sound, and it's actually great. I mean, I'll just tell you, it's worth checking out. It's a really fun show. So
I think it's fun because you kind of have something for everyone.
we do.
So,
And then one other show I'm going to tell you about quickly is in the Campbell House, our history curator, Freya Liggett, has put together a show called Dirty Laundry.
oh,
And this is about, it's a costume show. It's clothing from the early 1900s. And it delves into some of the controversial stories of early Spokane, some big names that you would recognize, and some of those, some of that dirty laundry that has been in our community. So it's a fun kind of juicy exhibition. And some gorgeous clothing that we have in our collection, installed in the Campbell House. So period appropriate.
Yeah.
It's going to be, and that's going to be another great show.
no, it's going to be a phenomenal year for the MAC. So
I think
I'm
so.
very excited.
I think so.
So I know that the DreamWorks exhibit is going to be a success, but I think we all want to talk about what is our favorite DreamWorks film. So, you know I'm a big fan of Shrek.
Oh, Shrek's great.
Which I love. And do you have a favorite DreamWorks film that you love?
Wow. I like them all. I really do. But I would say Kung Fu Panda is my favorite. And I have so many good memories of watching that with my kids. My kids were a lot younger, obviously, when that came out.
Right.
But, you know, going back to that concept of they're creating these whole worlds. And if you watch Kung Fu Panda, I mean, the backdrops and the scene, it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous. So I love Kung Fu Panda. I love the character, and I love the Kung Fu Panda song too. The CeeLo Green sang that. That was such a cool song.
I think that's part of what DreamWorks has done really well, and you know, all the animated films. It's not just the animation; it's the music that goes along with it that makes it fascinating and fun.
Yeah, definitely.
So, well, we went around the county asking people their favorite DreamWorks films, and so let's take a look at that.
My favorite DreamWorks movie is Madagascar because there's animals in the movie and I love nature. I like the movie of How to Train Your Dragons because it's so cool. My favorite DreamWorks movie is Fu Panda because he's funny and he eats weird food.
My favorite DreamWorks movie has got to be Kung Fu Panda. For one, Jack Black, but also because the comedy just still gets me to this day.
So my favorite DreamWorks film is probably Road to El Dorado. It's a really fun movie just because all the colors in it are super bright and colorful. The animation is so smooth, and I love animation, so.
My favorite DreamWorks movie is Cho's World Tour because I like all the singing.
My favorite DreamWorks movie is Boss Baby, The Family Business, because it's really funny and cute.
That was a fun clip, and I can't wait to see the DreamWorks exhibit at the MAC and find out how artists' sketches, writers' ideas are then turned into blockbuster films. In our last few minutes, is there anything else that you'd like to share with our audience about the Northwest Museum of Arts and Culture in Spokane?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say that, I keep coming back to this idea that we're a regional and community museum, and we appreciate the support from the community, and we've been getting so much support over these last 2 years with COVID. So we're coming out of COVID, we're gonna survive, we're gonna thrive, and we have these great shows on the books. So I think there's gonna be a lot of activity and a lot of excitement around the MAC in 2022. And there's going to be opportunities for us to really reach the community in new and interesting ways, and also to be accessible to the community in a way maybe that we haven't been able to have been in the past. So I'm excited about really opening the doors and getting everybody in. We're a museum and we're here for the community. And you know, we have such great partners. The county is one, but we have a lot of other great partners. And we're all focused on how do we make this resource accessible to everyone, you know?
Well, and I think, as we saw with COVID, it caused all of us to rethink what the future was going to be.
Right.
And so I think that's great that the museum has done that as well.
Yeah.
To make it accessible and to rethink, what the future is. And I think the shows that you have coming for this next year sound exciting. And like I said, something for everyone.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I think that's what's the beauty of the MAC is it's truly there as a community jewel for our entire community. And even outside, we've got people traveling from all over that come to these exhibits.
Yes, and I'm glad you brought that up. We have a lot of visitors from outside of Spokane. We track zip codes. And I should mention that we also are now working a lot with Visit Spokane because we believe that DreamWorks will bring a lot of people over from Seattle and Portland. And there's already a lot of interest. And so we hope that this exhibition can really bring people to Spokane, and then people can discover Spokane who maybe haven't been here before. So we want to position the museum as an attraction, a destination that is not to be missed, and I think DreamWorks will help to establish the MAC as that kind of destination.
Well, and I just have to say thank you for your vision in doing that. Having this DreamWorks exhibit come, and the fact that it's not going to be in Seattle or Portland at this point in time, and it's going to be here in Spokane,
Right.
And having that draw. So, that takes vision on your part.
Thank you.
So thank you very much. We appreciate that from the county, from our community.
Well, thank you. That's really nice. And I have to say that this is a very complex show. I was heavily involved on the front end, but I have an amazing staff who is working they're working all the details out, Mary. And so I have to give all the credit to them for making this happen because, this is a very complex show.
Yes.
So I've got a great staff, and I want to take this opportunity to thank them too.
No, I agree. It's a team effort for all of our different agencies and entities that have been, dealing with all of this and making great things happen as we move forward into the future. So thank you very much. I do want to close by saying thank you for everything you do in bringing fascinating exhibits to our region and educating and entertaining us with our own regional arts and culture. We're lucky to have the MAC in Spokane. I am afraid that we've run out of time. I'd like to thank my guest, Wesley Jessup, Executive Director of the Northwest Museum of Arts and Culture, for joining us today. I'm County Commissioner Mary Kuney. Thank you for joining us for Spokane County Spotlight.